Lamrani Ibrahim Lightning Murray is an English-Moroccan mixed martial artist and convicted bank robber. He was sentenced to 10 years in jail in June 2010 for masterminding a 2006 £53 million armed raid in Kent, England. His term was then extended to 25 years on November 30, 2010. In comments made to Sports Illustrated in April 2008, UFC President Dana White said, "He is a scary son of a bitch. And I don't mean fighter-wise." Early life: on his mother Barbara Murray's side, Lee's family hails from Bermondsey, a densely populated part of South London located between Tower Bridge and the Old Kent Road, and also an area that has been a traditional breeding ground for professional criminals, especially armed robbers. Following World War II, the Murrays were among thousands of working-class families relocated from bomb-ravaged inner London to council estates on the outskirts of the capital. The particular location of the Murray residence was 6 Godstow Road in Abbey Wood, located between Shooters Hill, so named because it was once a notorious area for highway robbery, and the River Thames, in the southeast corner of Greater London. Barbara Murray was a hairdresser and later a telephonist, and it was on a holiday to Gran Canaria that she met Lee's father, Brahim Lamrani, a kitchen hand from the southern Moroccan city of Sidi Ifni. The couple's first child, Lee, would be born in St Nicholas Hospital, Plumstead, on November 12, 1977, and was initially raised by his mother while Brahim continued to live and work in the Canary Islands. Eventually he came to England and married Barbara in 1984, and the following year she gave birth to Lee's only sibling, a daughter named Rukia. By then the family were living a few miles from Abbey Wood at 11 Butmarsh Close, Plumstead, and Murray attended Foxfield Primary School, where he would meet his eventual wife, Siobhan Rawlings, who was 3 years his junior. Murray's closest associates at this point were a group of other males from Butmarsh and the surrounding estates who called themselves the Butmarsh Boys. Described as happy kids, who used to play like normal kids on the estate, the boys fought to establish a pecking order among the group and believed they had a duty to look after Butmarsh, sometimes engaging in fights with boys from neighbouring estates. A skinny youngster, Murray's preferred method of attack was running into battle windmilling his arms around his head with a manic expression on his face, a maneuver that combined with his protruding ears earned him the nickname of Alien, which he hated. Murray had a difficult relationship with his father, who was often drunk and described as a frightening, violent man, who was volatile and domineering. Largely absent from the first 7 years of Lee's life, Brahim demanded respect and obedience from his son, at one point garnering a warning from police for mistreatment. Eventually, Lee began to fight back against his father, with Lee's former next-door neighbor describing an incident where Brahim actually went and hit Lee and Lee snapped, just turned round and knocked his dad clean out. "Once he realized he could take down a big man like that, I think that's what changed Lee into the man he is now, a thug." The relationship between father and son eventually grew so tempestuous that Brahim felt staying at home would result in either he or Lee killing the other, so he moved out. Barbara Murray was then left to raise Lee and Rukia largely on her own, and moved back to the Abbey Wood estate by getting a council house on Robbery Road around the corner from her parents. At this time Lee began attending Eaglesfield Boys' School, which is where he would meet his eventual best friend and partner in crime, Paul Allen. Murray, who does enjoy reading and puzzles, was a subpar student, and what little talent he did exhibit was in football, although he failed to make the school team. Murray's teachers found him to be unmanageable, resulting in his expulsion and eventual enrollment at Woolwich Polytechnic School to complete the statutory years of his education. By then Murray was living life on the streets, with stealing and drug dealing a part of everyday activity. He and the Butmarsh Boys were allegedly in daily contact with Nigerian drug dealers who operated at Plumstead train station, and an eventual turf war broke out that saw Murray and his friends emerge victorious, leading to their inheritance of the local drug trade. Murray would eventually be convicted of possession of cocaine and marijuana, in addition to being named in the Old Bailey as a notorious London drug dealer who employed Paul Allen as his right-hand man in addition to a network of drug runners. One of Murray's best friends from this time was a local ruffian and future mixed martial artist named Mark the Beast Epstein, who claimed that he and Lee sold crack cocaine and that Murray made a lot of money from that. Murray also proved himself adept at the more violent side of selling drugs, typically in order to control territory and make sure customers pay. Murray himself claimed that some people would probably say I was a bully, but a bully to me is someone that goes for easy targets and people who can't fight back. Me, I went for all targets. Murray was known for punching people almost at random in the street, as well as habitually harassing a man who ran a local corner shop. Murray was soon sent to the Feltham Young Offenders Institution, the first of several custodial sentences for relatively minor offences such as assault and thievery. He also served time as a juvenile in Dover and Norwich as well. Upon emerging from Feltham, Murray began attending the gym, lifting weights and drinking weight gainer shakes in order to add bulk to his lanky, 6'3" frame. Joining him at the gym was Paul Allen, who by then was known as the Enforcer, presumably because he assisted in enforcing Murray's control over drug dealing in their small swathe southeast London. Murray and Allen were soon using steroids and spending the money they earned from selling drugs on cars, typically of the big, flashy variety. The police stopped Murray regularly, and because they suspected he was a drug dealer attempted to place an informer in his group but failed to acquire sufficient evidence to prosecute. Murray was contemptuous of the police, often mocking and intimidating them on the streets, sometimes even following police officers around in his car. Some officers at Plumstead Police Station were afraid of Murray, and there was even a rumour within the station that certain policemen preferred not to confront him, with one stating that he's a very dangerous man. Murray's girlfriend Siobhan gave birth to his first child, a daughter named Lily Jane on December 24, 1998. Just weeks later Murray was caught up in a turf war with rival drug dealers that led to the arrest of Epstein and more than a dozen others, many ultimately ending up in prison. Murray, however, got clean away, with Epstein saying that he was the only one that slipped through the net. I mean, lucky boy. But he's always been lucky. I went to prison for 3 years. Murray would marry Siobhan on November 24, 2000, listing himself on their wedding certificate as a professional fighter. Murray would then divorce Siobhan in 2008 while incarcerated in a Moroccan jail. Mixed martial arts career. Shortly after dodging arrest Murray was introduced to mixed martial arts, and he competed in his first fight on December 5, 1999 at an event called Millennium Brawl that was held at Hemel Hempstead Pavilion. His opponent was Rob Hudson, and Murray knocked him out in the first round, prompting event promoter Andy Jardine to say, "He was so quick they called him Lightning Lee Murray." Murray's successful debut led him to begin training seriously. He jogged around the Abbeywood estate and attended 2 gyms, London Shoot Fighters in White City for wrestling, and Peacock's Gym in Canning Town for boxing. Martin Bowers, who ran Peacock's with his brothers Tony and Paul, described Murray as a very nice boy, who conducted himself well. Bowers said that Murray reminded him of many other young men who he'd seen in his gym over the years, men who'd come from troubled backgrounds but whose lives were given structure by sport. Notably, at the same time that Murray was training at Peacock's gym, the Bowers brothers were planning a series of robberies, the biggest being a brazen raid on a high-security warehouse at Gatwick Airport. Their scheme involved disguising themselves as security officers, utilizing a phony Brinks-Mat van to get into the depot, and then stealing £1 million in foreign currency. After Scotland Yard found out about the planned heist, all 3 brothers were arrested and jailed. It has been speculated that while Murray had no prior knowledge about the caper, the schematics that we later revealed publicly may have given him some of the ideas that were used in the not dissimilar Securitas Depo robbery. Murray had 4 professional fights in 2000. The first was a March 12 encounter with Mike Tomlinson under the banner of Ring of Truth. Murray won the fight via a Kimura submission in the first round, but it was in February 2004 that he would expand on some of the events surrounding the fight. Writing on a message board in a now archived thread from the mixed martial arts website Sherdog, Murray told the story of watching Prince Nassim Ham's fight at a pub the night before his own match with Tomlinson. When a patron stood in front of Murray and then accused him of stealing his seat after being asked to move, Murray allegedly knocked the man and his friend who attempted to aid him unconscious, followed by utilizing knee strikes to knock out a bartender who rushed to break up the fight. The following morning, and day of his fight with Tomlinson, Murray was unable to close his left hand. His friend Dexter Casey examined the injury and said they needed to go to the hospital, but Murray claims to have refused. After taping the hand, Murray relied solely on his good hand, stating that he caught him, Tomlinson, with a few good rights. He was rocked, so he took me down, then I caught him in a colloque on the ground and won the fight. After that I went to the hospital and got my hand plastered up, it was broken 2 places. Murray's next 2 bouts took place on June 17, 2000 in a tournament fought at Extreme Challenge 34. Murray defeated his first opponent, Chris Albandia, by ankle lock in the first round. Murray would later say that he thought Albandia was a kickboxer because he was wearing tie shorts, so he started the fight out with leg kicks. When Albandia surprised Murray by performing a single leg takedown, Murray said he sprawled and took him to the side of the cage where I was kneeing him and punching constantly. He dropped again and took me down, going for a leg lock. So I grabbed his leg and went to trade leg locks with him. I cranked an Achilles lock on and I think it must have snapped because there was a real loud crack. Even Pat heard it in my corner, and when Chris got up he couldn't put weight on it. So I won that one. The victory advanced Murray to the second round of the tournament, but he would lose by armor to Canadian submission specialist Joe Duquesne in the opening round. Murray said that when he went into the final, I was so happy and excited about winning the first I just sort of lost my focus. Duquesne's, a BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy who's only ever lost to Matt Hughes and Eugene Jackson. Anyway, he just took me straight to the ground. I didn't even make him pay while he tried. He launched a 3-sub attack at me with me in his guard. I fended off 2 and then got submitted with a colloque. I learned a lot from that fight. Murray's next fight was just weeks later, a July 9 contest against Danny Rushton, a fighter who had gained a reputation for toughness due to his competing in true no-holds-barred competitions in Russia. The match ended up a no contest, however, after Rushton collapsed in the first round due to exhaustion. At some point in 2000, Murray traveled to Bettendorf, Iowa to train at the renowned Miletich Fighting Systems camp run by former UFC welterweight champion Pat Miletich. In an interview conducted before the Rushton fight, Murray stated that while at MFS he trained a hell of a lot of groundwork. And a lot of kickboxing too. I prefer stand-up. Well, I just prefer to strike really. I like to keep the fight standing up and punch. Mind you, I like to punch from the mount too. I like to strike. On March 11, 2001, Murray fought to a draw against Chris Bacon at Millennium Brawl 2, Capital Punishment. He followed that up with a first-round knockout of Gary Warren at Millennium Brawl 3, Independence Day on July 1. On September 11, 2004, Lee fought future UFC middleweight champion Anderson the Spider Silva in Cage Rage 8 for the vacant middleweight title. Silva won by unanimous decision. Lee amassed an 8-2-1 record in smaller promotions before receiving a contract with the Ultimate Fighting Championship. In his UFC debut, he defeated Jorge Rivera by triangle choke armor in the first round. This was Murray's only fight in the UFC due to complications with his US visa as a result of ongoing criminal prosecution against him in the UK for assault after he attacked a man during a road rage incident. This led to Murray signing with the Cage Rage promotion, which was also short-lived due to injuries resulting from a stabbing preventing Lee from continuing his MMA career. Street brawls. Witnesses claim Murray was involved in a scuffle with then UFC light heavyweight champion Tito Ortiz outside of a nightclub in London after UFC 38 in July 2002, in which Murray allegedly fought Ortiz. Murray asserts he knocked Ortiz out, a claim substantiated by Matt Hughes in his book Made in America, The Most Dominant Champion in UFC History, as well as Pat Miletich during an interview with ESPN. Tito Ortiz however denies he was knocked out. Chuck Liddell has also stated that he did not see Tito knocked unconscious. On September 28, 2005, Murray was hospitalized after being stabbed in a brawl during the birthday party of British glamour model Lauren Pope. he suffered a punctured lung and a severed artery. According to the doctor who performed the life-saving surgery on Murray, he was resuscitated 4 times during the operation that saved his life. When thanked, the doctor remarked that Lee should thank the nurses who ran the bags of blood from the blood bank because that was what saved his life. Securitas Depo robbery. On June 25, 2006, in a joint operation with Moroccan police, Murray was arrested at a shopping center in the Souissi district of the capital Rabat for suspected involvement in the Securitas Depo robbery. Moroccan police said they had to use specialist techniques to arrest the suspects because they were specialists in martial arts and firearms. Kent police said in a statement that they had been tracking Murray for 3 months and would be seeking his extradition from Morocco. There is no treaty between the UK and Morocco, and the process was expected to take months. Later, Moroccan police revealed that Murray had also been charged with possession of hard drugs. An officer said this could complicate extradition proceedings because, in theory, Murray would have to serve time in Morocco first for any offences committed there. On June 27, 2006, Kent police confirmed the news of Murray's arrest in Morocco, and also stated that over 30 people had now been arrested in conjunction with the investigation. In February 2007, Murray's lawyer speculated that Murray could be returned to Britain in exchange for suspected terrorist Mohamed Karbazi, who is wanted for questioning by the Moroccan authorities in connection with the 2003 Casablanca bombings. In June 2009, an attempt to escape Salah copyright prison in Morocco was made by Murray. Small sores were found in a plate of biscuits in Murray's cell by another prisoner who broke into it. Prison officials believe Murray was planning to cut through the iron bars of his cell window with the saws. To make the escape through the small window easier, Murray had lost a significant amount of weight recently through training hard and starving himself. Murray was in a different cell at the time as punishment for being caught with a laptop computer and 5 kilos of drugs. Other prisoners in Salah copyright held it against Murray that he was able to use his money to smuggle in items like these, as well as expensive clothes. The fellow prisoner who broke into his cell was doing so to steal some of Murray's belongings. He was convicted of the £53 million crime in a Moroccan court in June 2010. Kent police said Murray must serve 10 years in jail in Morocco for his involvement. This sentence was then extended to 25 years on November 30, 2010. Film biography. Time Incorporated announced on August 4, 2008 that they would be making a film about Lee Murray's alleged role in the robbery, based on an article about him in Sports Illustrated called Breaking the Bank. In addition to the robbery, the film will also concentrate on Murray's life, including his mixed martial arts career. Mixed martial arts record. References. External links: Professional MMA record for Lee Murray from Sherdog, Lee Murray MMA record.